Voluntary surrender. Don't you know that when you offer yourselves to someone to obey him as slaves, you are slaves to the one whom you obey, whether you are slaves to sin, which leads to death, or obedience, which leads to righteousness. Romans 6:16. When I first became a Christian, I wrote this statement in the front of my Bible. When you decide to follow Jesus, you voluntarily surrender the right to choose or the power to vary the consequences of that decision. This is what the Christian walk is about at its core: commitment to God and surrender to Him. You relinquish your rights and you put your life in the hands of God, asking Him to rule you and mold you according to His will, not yours. The Apostle Paul said that when you choose whom you will obey, you voluntarily make yourself a slave. He wrote in Romans 6:16, "Don't you know that when you offer yourselves to someone to obey him as a slave, you are slaves to the one whom you obey? Whether you are slaves to sin, which leads to death, or to obedience, which leads to righteousness." When you commit yourself to Jesus Christ, you choose to make him master and Lord. You offer yourself as an obedient slave. Immediately, God takes you at your word, and he begins to instruct you and guide you and work through the circumstances of your life to conform you to the image of his Son, Jesus. That is his express purpose for you, to make you like Christ, whatever it takes. You have no right to complain about anything God does from that point on, because he has taken control of your life at your request. So, if you lose all your money, don't complain. If people lie about you, don't complain. If some other trial or test comes upon you, don't complain. God is using those things to make you into the image of Christ. He is directing your footsteps day by day by day, whether you like what's happening at a particular moment or not. God promises in Hebrews 13:5, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." And in Matthew 28:20, "Surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." In these verses, he not only promises us continued presence in your life, he also promises his ongoing work to accomplish his purpose within you. Once you recognize that God is going to do what he said he would do, once you stop struggling as he molds you into the image of his Son, you will begin to live and flow in greater harmony with the Lord. Then, and only then, will you be able to genuinely say, as Paul did in Philippians chapter 4, "I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do everything through him who gives me strength." You see, when your life is fully submitted to God, it no longer makes any difference whether good things happen to you or bad things happen to you. It no longer matters if you are poor or rich, hungry or cold, persecuted or praised. All that matters is that God is working out his purpose in you. He is transforming you to be like Jesus. And as Christ is seen in you and manifested through you in increasing measure, more and more people will be drawn to him. Let's be like Paul. Let's trust the Lord and learn to be content, whatever our circumstances. Whether you are in need or have plenty, it really makes no difference, because God is the one directing your life. Don't complain and don't grumble, especially if you are experiencing a time of need while your brother or sister in Christ has plenty. God is working in that person's life just as he is working in your life. How he does it is his business, not yours. As an obedient slave, trust him to do whatever is best to fulfill his will for you.